She smiled as she stole my idea and pitched it like it was hers. I didn't argue. I didn't expose her. I just filed the patent and waited until the boardroom needed the name behind the innovation. Now she's updating her resume, and I'm signing her severance papers. They say credit doesn't matter when the job gets done, but they only say that when they're the ones stealing it. Her name was Rachel Lynn, Senior Product Manager, glass heels, Harvard MBA, perfect in meetings, ruthless in emails. I was Nathan Cole, the guy in the hoodie, the quiet genius who stayed late, wrote clean code, and never asked for credit, until the day it was taken from me. It started with a problem no one else could solve, an internal logistics tool that kept glitching between supply nodes. I wasn't even assigned to it, but I fixed it. 3 nights, 11 Red Bulls, and a notebook full of scribbles later. I built a prototype. Nothing fancy, just clean, fast, functional. It worked, saved the company thousands in latency, and I submitted it, like always, through the internal dev portal, time-stamped, signed, and then silence. No good job, no follow-up, until the all-hands meeting a week later. Rachel stood at the front of the room in heels sharp enough to cut steel, with a smile that smelled like promotion. "I'd like to introduce a new internal tool my team has been working on," she said. No mention of me, no nod, no context. Just a sleek presentation with my interface, my flow logic, and even my error codes, copied verbatim. She called it OpsEye, gave a speech about cross-functional innovation and future-focused problem-solving, used all the buzzwords I never cared to learn. People clapped, the CTO smiled, my manager patted her on the back. I sat there, frozen, invisible, and it got worse. The next day, an internal email thread began. Congrats to Rachel and her team for OpsEye's success. They added me to the CC, no name, no credit. Just a polite reminder of my insignificance. I walked into her office. "You used my build," I said quietly. She blinked. I integrated what was already being developed internally. Internally, by me. "Nathan," she said, her tone dropping into that patronizing valley managers go to when they pretend you're overreacting. "You didn't present it. You didn't loop in leadership. You just tinkered." "Tinkered?" She smiled. "This is how the real world works. If you want to be seen, you have to show up louder." I didn't yell, didn't argue. I just left. Because sometimes silence is heavier than rage, but inside, something cracked. Not because she took the credit, but because everyone let her. That's when I realized something about this system. It doesn't reward the builder. It rewards the talker. I wasn't in the right room. I wasn't playing the right game, but I was done playing small. That night, I went home, pulled out my old notebooks, pulled the real blueprint for OpsEye from my backups, checked every timestamp, every Git commit log. Then I made a decision, one she'd never see coming. I didn't tweet about it, didn't rant on Slack, didn't gather allies in a whisper campaign. I just got to work. First, I filed a provisional patent. Simple, quiet, filed under Logistics Optimization via Node Priority Flow Mapping. No company name attached, just me. I backed it with documentation, commits, drafts, internal messages, debug logs, a digital trail even Rachel's stilettos couldn't stomp out. While she paraded OpsEye around like her masterpiece, I was building the next version, cleaner, faster, smarter, but this time, outside the firewall. I quit 6 weeks later. No drama, no exit interview fireworks, just a short email. "I've decided to pursue independent ventures, grateful for the experience." And I walked out. Took a contract with a tiny logistics startup 3 floors down. Lower pay, longer hours, perfect. Because they gave me one thing I never had before, control. Within 3 months, I rebuilt my tool, refined it, branded it, called it FlowSight. We launched a beta. Clients loved it. Small contracts turned into big ones. And all the while, Rachel was still showcasing OpsEye in meetings with duct tape and buzzwords. Then came the day her product failed a major deployment. Buggy code, faulty logic, because it wasn't built to last, it was built to impress. Meanwhile, my patent went public. And FlowSight's version of the tool? Yeah, it matched that patent line for line. Suddenly, Rachel's innovation didn't just look sloppy, it looked stolen, and the company knew it. Whispers started. Legal reviewed timestamps. Her name vanished from internal decks. Leadership got quiet. I didn't gloat, didn't post screenshots. I focused on growth. The startup I joined, they made me CTO. Our valuation doubled in 6 months. And then the acquisition offer came in from her company, from my old company. They needed a fix, a real system. And Flowsite was the fix. I said yes. On one condition, I approved the team restructure. The office hadn't changed much. Same glass doors, same overpriced espresso machine, same smell of ambition and cheap cologne. But everything felt smaller. Because this time, I wasn't walking in as an employee. I was walking in as the solution. My name wasn't on the employee roster. It was on the acquisition contract. And in that contract, a clause buried deep in legalese, retained leadership subject to approval by Flowsite CTO, me. I sat across from the executive board, the same board that once looked through me, the same ones who clapped when Rachel presented my work. Now, they waited on my decision. One of them cleared his throat. As part of the merger, we'd like your input on who should remain in leadership. I didn't blink. I'll need to review performance reports, patent violations, and attribution logs. They nodded, and polite, corporate, unaware that I already knew what they didn't want me to see. Rachel's name? Nowhere near clean. She hadn't just stolen my work. She'd been coasting on it ever since. Marketing numbers inflated, retention numbers doctored, and no one had questioned it until OpSci broke. They handed me a stack of folders. Rachel's was on top, tidy, branded, a summary of her visionary leadership. I flipped through it slowly, page after page of borrowed brilliance. At the end, I looked up. I can't recommend her for retention. Silence. Someone tried to soften it. Is there a possibility of transition support? A lateral role? I shook my head. This isn't personal, it's structural. We can't build a future on borrowed credibility. And that was it. Rachel was out. No warning, no farewell cake, just a polite email from HR and a company-wide announcement the next day. I didn't gloat, didn't make a speech, but I did take her old office. Not out of spite, out of symbolism, because sometimes the quietest revenge is being exactly where they said you'd never be. The whiteboard still had her handwriting on it, diagrams of a product she didn't understand. I wiped it clean, and in its place, a single sentence, billed loud enough that silence feels like power. Her desk was empty by noon, no farewell lunch, no Slack goodbyes, no flowers on the corner of her screen. Just an HR escort and a silent elevator ride down. Rachel disappeared faster than her credits on the last OpSci update, but fallout isn't always loud. It's slow, systemic. Whispers replaced her LinkedIn praise. Slack channels muted her name. Even her loyal allies stopped defending her, because in corporate memory, failure is contagious, and theft, unforgivable. I didn't bring it up in meetings, didn't build a slide deck to explain what happened. But people knew, because truth leaves fingerprints, and I'd left mine in every comment, every prototype, every decision Rachel pretended was hers. After she left, I restructured her entire department. Lean, accountable, open source where it made sense, transparent where she'd installed glass ceilings. Morale improved, turnover dropped. And in the next quarterly all hands, Flowsite outperformed projections by 38%. Investors clapped. The board smiled. No one mentioned her name, except once. A junior product manager, maybe too young to remember the past, asked quietly after the meeting, "Whatever happened to that woman?" "Rachel?" I looked at him, just for a moment, and said, "She helped me learn who I didn't want to become." He nodded. Didn't ask again. Some revenge stories end with applause. But mine ended in stillness, because the best kind of justice doesn't echo, it replaces. Her ambition didn't vanish, it just lost its seat. Her name didn't get erased, it got overwritten. And me? I never needed her apology. Her absence was apology enough. The award came in a plain envelope. No red carpet, no flashing lights, just a single email from the Innovation Council. "Congratulations. Your patent has been recognized as one of the top 10 product foundations of the year. I didn't post about it. Didn't tag anyone, because real success doesn't need witnesses, just proof. The patent number was framed in my office, not on the wall. That was too loud. It sat on the bookshelf, next to the dog-eared notebook I used to sketch the original idea, the one she borrowed without asking. Some days, people passed by my office and asked what that frame number meant. I just smiled and said, that's the one thing they couldn't take from me. Investors started name-dropping the app in press releases. Partners quoted it in pitch decks. Even former skeptics now referenced it as a case study in resilient innovation. But no one mentioned Rachel, not even once. Her chapter had closed. Mine was being published in quarterly reports and market forecasts. I was invited to speak at Stanford, not about revenge, not even about betrayal. They asked me to talk about IP ownership and career resilience. I ended with a single line: protect your ideas, not with walls, but with receipts. The crowd clapped, some stood, but that wasn't the win. The real triumph was quiet. It was the interns who now asked for mentorship, the engineers who built freely, because they knew credit would be shared, the emails that started with, I trust your judgment. Every day I walked into a building she once ruled, and was greeted with respect she never earned, because legacy doesn't come from stealing the spotlight, it comes from fueling it, without burning others down. And me, I didn't just reclaim my work, I rebuilt the system that let someone take it in the first place. That's the kind of revenge they never see coming. Not loud, not cruel, just final. You don't forget betrayal, but over time, you stop needing it to make sense. I used to lie awake at night wondering how someone I trusted could rewrite my work in her name, how she could smile, shake my hand, then pitch my vision as her own in the next boardroom. But now I sleep fine. Because the ending was mine to write. Rachel's betrayal didn't define me. It refined me. It forced me to stop waiting for someone to give me credit and start claiming it, legally, publicly, permanently. The patent didn't just protect an idea, it protected the truth, and that truth became the backbone of something bigger. A workplace where no junior staff would ever be sidelined again, where attribution wasn't a favor, it was a rule. I didn't campaign to have her fired. I didn't need to. When people saw who had the vision and who only knew how to present it, the choice made itself. She lost her job not because I took revenge, but because she built her career on borrowed time. Mine was just beginning. Now, when new hires join the company, I tell them one thing: don't fight for the spotlight, fight to own the blueprint. Legacy isn't who remembers your name, it's what survives when the credits roll. Rachel, she wrote the first draft, but I hold the publishing rights, and from here on out, I'm the editor.